My jealous sister sabotaged my relationship because she couldn't have her one true love, so I made her watch as he fell deeply in love with me instead, and it drove her mad with regret. My younger sibling, Mia, has consistently used the same excuse since reaching adulthood. Because she can't have her one true love, she feels entitled to ruin everyone else's. This isn't about her still being fond of an ex. It's about her actively seeking to make others miserable if they find happiness, then attributing it to her own tragic romance. Her one true love is a man named Ethan, whom she met at a college gathering 4 years prior. They had a brief encounter, he never called, and somehow that became her justification for truly awful behavior. It began with her childhood best friend, Jess. One weekend, Mia stayed at Jess's apartment. By Monday, Jess's boyfriend was sending Mia good morning messages. When Jess discovered them together in her own bed, Mia actually uttered, "You don't understand what it's like to lose your soulmate." Jess never spoke to her again. Then came our cousin's engagement celebration. Mia arrived in an expensive gown, got intoxicated, and cornered the groom in the restroom. His exact words later were that she kept saying he reminded her of someone special. Thankfully, he pushed her away and immediately informed his fiancé. Mia, however, wept to our parents about how happy couples triggered her trauma. My mother then arranged a spa weekend for her to heal. By the time I met Ryan, I understood her pattern. I kept him away from family gatherings, removed Mia from my social media, and explained to him that my sister was going through a difficult period and needed space. For 2 years, this approach worked. We got engaged last spring, planning a small, simple ceremony with just us and close friends. I made one error, though. I mentioned it at my mother's birthday dinner. Mia's eyes lit up as if it were an early holiday. "I'm so happy for you," she exclaimed, hugging me. "When do I get to meet him?" A week later, Ryan showed me his phone, laughing. "Your sister found me on Instagram with some fake account. Look at these messages." We read them together, ridiculing her desperation, and then he promised to block her. However, 3 weeks before my wedding, I contracted a severe flu. Ryan was supposed to be at his brother's golf tournament that day, but a friend who lived near Mia's apartment complex texted me to come over since I was already at my sister's. "What?" I asked. My friend said she'd seen Ryan's Tesla in the visitor parking area. My chest went cold. I drove over, fever and all, using the spare key Mia had given me for emergencies. I found them on her couch, her head in his lap, his hand in her hair, both partially dressed. She looked up at me, those fabricated tears already forming. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "He just reminds me so much of Ethan," and I stormed out. He didn't even try to salvage what we had. That's when I decided she would experience genuine loss. You see, Ethan wasn't some mysterious figure who simply disappeared. We had actually been following each other on Instagram for 3 years. We shared mutual college friends, occasionally liked each other's posts, but never truly conversed. He lived 3 hours away, worked as a physical therapist, and posted videos of his golden retriever. So, I slid into his DMs with a straightforward message. "Hey, this is strange, but my sister had a thing for you in college and just ruined my wedding. Wanna help me ruin her life?" He replied in 12 minutes. "Mia, the girl who showed up at my mom's house? I'm in." It turned out she had driven to his hometown and introduced herself to Ethan's mother as if she were an old acquaintance, telling a twisted tale about how he was the love of her life and how circumstances had kept them apart. His kind mother believed her. She invited Mia for tea. They took selfies together, and Mia even posted one saying, "Reuniting with my dear future mother-in-law." Ethan sent me everything, screenshots, videos, and even an audio of his mother saying, "She seemed so sincere, dear. I'm sorry if I caused any problems." That's when I knew Mia wouldn't stop. She didn't understand how to love, only how to possess. And what she couldn't have, she destroyed. But this time, she overlooked two crucial things. I was no longer the sister who had let things slide, and Ethan was willing to participate in my plan. We meticulously arranged every step. He would visit me the weekend of the family lunch. I hadn't spoken to Mia since catching her with Ryan, but I knew she'd be there because it was my father's birthday, and no one ever missed that perfect family event. And me? I would arrive with Ethan, holding hands, laughing, behaving exactly as she had imagined herself acting with him. On Friday, I picked up Ethan at the bus station. He was even more attractive in person, charismatic, amusing, gentle, the type of man who effortlessly radiates charm. The kind of man Mia couldn't manipulate, and he recognized that. In the car, we rehearsed our lines and synchronized our gestures. On Saturday at 1 p.m., we parked in front of my parents' house. I walked in wearing a new dress, high heels, and a confident smile. Ethan held my hand as if we'd been a deeply in love couple for years. Mia was in the living room, laughing with my uncle, when she saw us. Her laughter ceased abruptly. "Everyone," I announced as if it were the most natural thing in the world, "this is Ethan." The name struck her like a bolt of lightning. She turned pale, then flushed, then forced herself to smile, as if it were amusing. "Ethan," she said, forcing an awkward chuckle. "Wow, what a coincidence." He smiled politely. "Hi, Mia. Good to see you again." That shattered any pretense of composure she still held. She stammered something, but I was already sitting beside him, taking photos, posting stories. Every action of mine was a direct hit to her vanity. During lunch, she tried to engage him in conversation, to reminisce about some non-existent college memory. But Ethan made sure to look at me the entire time, call me love, and put his arm around my shoulders. Each time he did that, Mia pressed her lips together as if swallowing glass shards. After the birthday toast, she finally couldn't bear it. She locked herself in the bathroom. I followed her, knocking on the door until she opened it. "What do you want now?" she asked, her makeup smudged and a pleading expression on her face. "Just came to see if you're okay," I replied with feigned concern. After all, it must be difficult to see a soulmate in your sister's arms, right? "You're doing this just to hurt me," she accused. "And you destroyed my engagement just because you couldn't stand to see me happy."
"So no, Mia.
"This here is justice." "He was mine," she screamed, punching the wall. "I saw him first. I felt it first." "No, Mia," I countered. "You saw him once, and he never wanted you. You invented a love story in your head and used that as an excuse to be cruel to everyone around you. But now you're going to sit and watch him love me because, unlike you, I didn't have to beg." She collapsed on the floor, crying loudly. My mother knocked on the door, asking if everything was all right. I opened it and walked out with my head held high. I returned to the living room and sat next to Ethan. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "She's going to lose it even more. Are you ready?" I smiled. I've never been more ready. The next day, the consequences were already apparent. My mother called me early, pleading for empathy. She said Mia had spent the entire night crying, that she was fragile, and that I should have avoided provoking her. "Provoking?" I asked, laughing humorlessly. "You think showing up with my boyfriend at a family gathering is provoking? Or is it that Mia just can't stand to see anyone happy without her being the center of attention?" She sighed on the other end of the line, as if I were the problem. "Honey, your sister has a sensitive heart. She gets attached easily." "Sensitive?" I interrupted. "Mom, she slept with my fiancé. She destroyed my wedding, and you're worried about her feelings?" I was feverish, alone at home, and she was lying with him on the couch, reminiscing about Ethan. "You're not going to twist this around. Look, let's talk another day." And she hung up. At that moment, I realized no one in that family was going to defend me. They always treated Mia like a delicate, broken ornament. But they forgot, she also had claws.
She always had them.
Only now, those claws were turned on herself. The ongoing aftermath on Monday. Ethan was still in town. I decided to take him to brunch with some of my friends, the ones who knew all about Mia's antics since high school. He was impressive, polite, gentle, charismatic, and completely devoted to me. The girls exchanged glances, charmed. Some even whispered things like, "This revenge is too perfect." But the best part came in the afternoon. Ethan posted a photo of us on Instagram. The two of us embracing in a park, with a simple caption, "Sometimes love appears when you least expect it." The comments began discreetly. A cousin, a former classmate, heart emojis. But then Mia appeared. "Soulmate," she commented. "This is disgusting.
You know what he means to me."
Ethan liked her comment and replied with precise wording. "We hooked up once, Mia."
"Once."
"And you followed me down the street the next day." "That's not love. It's obsession."
Boom.
In less than an hour, the post became a hot topic in our social circles. People who had known Mia since high school started commenting things like, "Finally someone said it." I always thought the way she talked about him was strange. Karma exists. She remained silent on the post, but sent me a series of voice messages on WhatsApp, crying, screaming, asking how I could use him against her. One of the voice messages ended with, "You're destroying my life for revenge." I replied with a simple text. "No, I'm just showing you how to rebuild after being destroyed. Something you never knew how to do." And then, without any ceremony, I blocked her. But I still wasn't finished. Not yet. I knew she wouldn't let it go easily. And sure enough, on Thursday night, I received a notification. Mia had made an Instagram post, a selfie with a tear-streaked face, swollen eyes, in low bedroom lighting. The caption read, "It's hard to see your sister steal the man you love, laugh at your pain, and be applauded for it. I'm not perfect, but no one deserves this." Over 1,000 likes, people commenting, "Stay strong. Take care. You'll get through this." And what hurt the most, some people close to me reposted it. The next morning, I went to my parents' house. My mother answered the door, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I came to talk with everyone." I walked in. My father was in the living room. Mia came down the stairs as if she were at a funeral, in sweatpants, hair tied back, wearing that "I'm the victim" expression. Did something happen? She asked almost sweetly. Something did happen, I stated. Enough of you manipulating everyone and coming out like you're the poor victim. I stopped in the center of the living room, looked at both of them. Mom, Dad, did you see the post? Do you really think it's fair? Do you remember who destroyed whose engagement? Honey, this isn't how you solve. My mother tried. No, now you're going to listen. I turned to Mia. You seduced Ryan. You betrayed me. You said sorry with fake tears and thought you'd continue being the family princess. But now the tables have turned. Now you're the one on the ground crying, and no one's going to save you this time, because it's not a sad post that will erase the screenshots, the voice messages, the testimonies. Everyone saw who you really are. The mask fell, Mia. She remained silent, crying. My father looked down. I'm tired of being the forgotten daughter, while you put on little shows. Enough. The stage is mine now. And the audience, they're on my side. I left without waiting for an answer. In the car, Ethan was behind the wheel with the radio on and a coffee for me in a cup holder. So, he asked. It was beautiful, I replied. She finally saw that she has no control anymore. He smiled. You know what? Getting revenge on her was more therapeutic than I imagined. Yeah, and you know what's better? What? Part 2 is still coming. Part 2 began with an invitation. The launch party for my friend Andre's new restaurant, a chef known locally with a strong influencer presence and extensive social media coverage. Mia, of course, was obsessed with this type of event. She always pretended to have a life she didn't. Posted photos in store mirrors pretending to own the clothes, ordered expensive food to take photos and return it through the back door. It was all about appearances. But this time, she wasn't on the guest list. I was, and so was Ethan. We arrived in style, quite literally. The entrance photographer stopped us for photos, and one of them appeared on a city events profile with a caption, "Couple of the moment. Melissa and Ethan steal the scene at the opening night." Mia saw that the next day, of course, and posted on her stories the classic indirect comment. Some people need the spotlight to feel alive. I prefer depth. Depth? From someone who threw herself at my fiancé's lap 3 weeks before the wedding and was now crying on the internet because the guy she barely knew became my boyfriend? The following Saturday, another event. Amanda's wedding, our cousin. Mia had always been very close to Amanda. She probably expected her friend to defuse the situation and ask me not to bring Ethan, but Amanda called me personally. Mel, please come and bring him. Everyone already knows what happened, and I don't have patience to pretend anymore with Mia. She needs to learn that the world doesn't revolve around her. Mia was there, alone, dressed too tightly, flawless makeup, a plasticized smile, pretending she didn't see us when we walked in. Ethan hugged me by the waist, kissed my cheek from time to time, and all she could do was watch. But the moment that made the night truly worthwhile was during the bride and groom's dance. Amanda very discreetly called us to dance beside them. Ethan and I were there in the center, spinning slowly, when Mia tried to approach. For the first time, she seemed disarmed. Ethan, can I talk to you? She asked with that look she thought was irresistible. He released my hand, looked at her, and said with complete calm, No, I'm busy loving your sister. Mia froze. I took a deep breath, looked at her, and added, and for the first time in years, I'm being truly loved. Something you never understood because you only know how to confuse attention with love. She took 2 steps back with tears in her eyes and tripped over her own dress hem. No one laughed. It was worse. Everyone ignored her. That hurt more. She left the hall a few minutes later, and me? I kept dancing. For the first time in a long time, feeling like I was the one who had won. But my favorite part was still to come. A few weeks later, I was invited to participate in a podcast about overcoming and new beginnings. I didn't use names, but I told the story. The one about the narcissistic sister, the unfaithful fiancé, the calculated revenge, and of course, the unexpected love. The episode went viral. People from all over the country sending messages, congratulating me, saying they identified with it. Mia listened. I know she did, because the same day she sent a message to my DM, "Do you really need to expose yourself like this just to get applause?" And I replied without hesitation, "It's not exposure. It's liberation. I lived years in your theater. Now the story is mine, and so is the stage." She never replied. In the following days, I learned from others that Mia was becoming reclusive. Some brands she was trying to partner with cut contact. People started commenting about her obsession with Ethan. The reputation she fought so hard to build with filters and pre-made phrases began to crumble. And it wasn't me who brought it down. She sank herself. And me? I kept living. Ethan was no longer just a piece in my revenge. The truth is that in the midst of all that chaos, he became a haven. A haven that initially appeared disguised as an ally, but today was a genuine companion. And every day that passed, I saw that what Mia tried to destroy only made me stronger. And she, who always sought to win through manipulation, now only had silence as company. The first time I realized I wasn't thinking about Ryan anymore was on an ordinary morning, weeks after Amanda's wedding. We were in my apartment. The sun was gently shining through the window, and Ethan was in the kitchen, shirtless, making pancakes the way he had been doing since the first week he spent with me. And while he hummed softly a song from the 2000s, doing ridiculous little dances that made me laugh, I realized Ryan was nothing more than a faint shadow in a dusty corner of my memory. It wasn't just revenge. Not anymore. It was the way Ethan held my hand even when he didn't need to. It was how he listened to my childhood stories with a sincere smile, even though he already knew them all. It was how he looked at me while I read a book on the couch, as if he needed nothing else in the world. I didn't expect this. When I messaged him impulsively to help dismantle my sister's fantasy, I thought it would be temporary, that he would pretend for a while until Mia gave up, until I felt avenged, and then life would return to normal. But it didn't return. Ethan became routine, a presence, security. He met my friends, integrated into my work circle, started leaving toothbrushes and t-shirts at my house. When my car broke down, he was the first to show up with coffee and a tow truck. When I had an anxiety attack before an important presentation, he sat with me on the kitchen floor and stayed silent, just holding my hand until I could breathe again.
And Ryan?
Not even a thought. Not one comparison. Nothing. He, who was once the center of my world, was now irrelevant because now I had someone who was present even on ordinary days. Ryan was made of future promises, Ethan of present actions. One night, we went to dinner at a new restaurant that opened in town. Nothing fancy, just a nice atmosphere and good food. When we sat down, Ethan held my hand across the table and said with that light tone I already knew well, "You know what's funny? We started this to fool your sister, but I never pretended anything." I was silent for a few seconds, my heart racing. "I'm not pretending anymore either," I replied with an almost embarrassed smile. He laughed and raised his wine glass. "To the best revenge, then?" "No," I corrected. "To what comes after." We toasted. And for the first time in a long time, I was at peace, without resentment, without ghosts, without wanting someone to notice or validate me. I was there for myself, and so was he. A few days later, walking downtown, I saw Ryan alone, walking with his head down as if the world was too heavy. It was automatic. I looked away, not from pain, but because it simply didn't matter anymore. He saw me, hesitated, almost came to talk. But when he noticed Ethan approaching and intertwining his fingers with mine, he backed away. Perhaps he finally understood that there was no more space for him. That the place he wasted with lies and omissions was now occupied by someone who, without promising anything, gave me everything. That night, I hugged Ethan tighter and whispered without thinking much, "Thank you for showing up." He looked at me with that calm smile that conveyed everything even in silence. And I knew revenge gave me justice. But it was the aftermath that gave me love. Months passed, and what began as a sharp response to my sister's toxicity became the sweetest part of my life. Ethan was no longer a scheme, a maneuver, a carefully orchestrated provocation. He was my home, my partner in moments of quiet and laughter. We slept together almost every night, sometimes at my house, sometimes at his, where his golden retriever insisted on sleeping between us like a guardian, an accomplice to this improbable story. He officially asked me to be his girlfriend on a simple night on the couch, while we ate pizza straight from the box and watched a silly documentary about marine life. "Do you think it's too early for this?" he asked with the pizza box balanced on his lap and a smile at the corner of his mouth. "Or is it already too late?" "I think we've already been through worse phases than any couple together for 20 years, I replied, laughing. "It's just a title, but yes, I want to." And that's how it remained. Reconciliation, and moving forward, we didn't talk about Mia anymore. She vanished from conversations, from social media, from messages. She blocked Ethan on everything. Even though he never sought contact, she told acquaintances that she would never forgive me, that I had stolen the love of her life just to flaunt what she couldn't have. She didn't bother to admit that she destroyed my wedding before all of this. But you know what? I didn't care anymore. At first, I thought I would care, that I would keep dwelling on the fact that she didn't acknowledge her own guilt, that I would beg for an apology that never came. But the truth is that the freedom I felt when I stopped craving Mia's approval was the greatest gift that whole chaos gave me.
She didn't forgive me.
She didn't come to my birthday. She didn't respond to my mother's messages about Christmas. She stayed away, hurt, furious, and me? I moved on. I traveled with Ethan to the countryside, met his mother this time officially, helped paint the wall of the new clinic he opened, learned to deal with a messy dog, and little by little, we built a routine that was light, authentic, without masks, without games. There was a day when we were lying in the hammock, just listening to the wind and the sound of birds. When he said to me, Do you still think all of this was just revenge? I thought for a few seconds, and then I smiled, turning my face to him. Maybe it started that way, but it ended up being the best thing I ever did for myself. He kissed my forehead, and we stayed in silence. Revenge became love. And, ironically, that's what must have hurt Mia the most. She always wanted to be the center, the most beautiful, the most desired, the most worthy of attention. But it was offstage, away from the script she always tried to write, that I found what she spent her whole life pretending to have. I was never the family highlight. I was never the most loved. I was never the perfect sister. But I was the only one who knew how to transform pain into strength, rejection into freedom, and revenge into love. And that no one will ever take away from me. 6 months later, when I thought all the storms had passed, I received an unexpected call. It was Ryan. I didn't answer the first time or the second. On the third, Ethan was beside me and simply said, "Answer it. You need to close this chapter." "Hello," I replied with the most neutral voice possible. "Melissa, it's me." His voice sounded tired, defeated. Can I talk to you in person?" I thought about hanging up, but Ethan was right. There was something that needed to be said. We arranged to meet at a neutral cafe, far from any place that held our memories. When I arrived, he was already there. Disheveled hair, deep dark circles. He seemed to have aged years in just a few months. "Thank you for coming," he said without looking me in the eyes. "What do you want, Ryan?" He sighed deeply. "I wanted to apologize." "Really?" "And explain." "Explain what?" "That you were holding hands with my sister 3 weeks before our wedding." "It wasn't like that," he murmured. She came to me when you were sick, said she needed to talk about something important about you, that there were things from your past I needed to know before marrying you." I felt a knot in my stomach. Typical Mia. "And you believed her?" "She brought evidence, or at least things that seemed like evidence. Said you had destroyed some girl's life in high school. That you were vindictive, manipulative. She showed old conversations taken out of context." He finally looked at me. I got confused, scared. "And that's why you went to bed with her?" "No." He shook his head desperately. "She said she had been in love with me since we met. That she just hadn't said anything because she respected you. That if I canceled the wedding, she would be there for me. I was drinking. I was confused with everything she had told me about you." "Ryan," I interrupted. "None of that justifies what you did." "I know." Tears began to form in his eyes. 5 minutes after you left, I understood. I understood that she had manipulated me, that all of it was lies, that I had destroyed the best thing in my life because of her." I remained silent for a long time. "You know what hurts me most, Ryan? It's not even what you did. It's that you didn't trust me. In 2 years together, you believed her words more than who I really was." He lowered his head. "I tried calling you afterward, 1,000 times. I went to your house, but you were never there. Until I saw the photos with him, and I understood it was too late." "It was too late the moment you put your hand in her hair," I replied, standing up. "But thank you for explaining. It helps me be sure I made the right choice." He looked at me one last time. Are you happy with him?" I smiled for the first time during the entire conversation. Happier than I imagined I could be. And I left without resentment, just with the certainty that some doors need to be closed for others to open completely. The conversation with my family was harder. It took 3 months before my mother called, asking us to talk. She suggested lunch, just the two of us, to work things out. I found a different woman, older, more tired. The wrinkles around her eyes seemed deeper. "How are you?" she asked, hesitant. "Good, Mom. Very good." "And Ethan?" "He's good too. We're good." She nodded nervously, fidgeting with her napkin. "I need to apologize to you," she finally said, "for all the years that I didn't see clearly." I felt my chest tighten. "Mom, no. Let me talk." She looked me in the eyes for the first time. I always knew Mia was difficult. But I thought if I gave her more attention, if I protected her more, she would change. And in the process, I neglected you. I left you to deal with the consequences of her problems alone. Tears began to stream down my face. After you confronted us that day, I started putting the pieces together. The friends Mia lost, the boyfriends who disappeared, the stories that never added up. And I realized that you two told me very different versions of the same story. And I always chose to believe hers. "Why?" I asked, my voice choked. "Because she cried louder," my mother admitted, her voice breaking. "Because you always seemed stronger, more capable of taking care of yourself, and I confused strength with not needing support." We sat in silence for a few minutes. "And now?" I asked. "How is Mia?" She moved to another state. She's in therapy. Said she needs to start over, away from all this. My mother hesitated. She asked me to tell you that she knows she was wrong, but that she can't apologize to you yet. "And I can't forgive yet," I replied honestly. "Maybe someday, but not now." "I understand." She reached her hand across the table. Can I? Can I try to be a better mother to you? I held her hand. We can try to be a better family, but it will take time. She smiled with tears in her eyes. I have time. A few weeks later, my father showed up at my house. Without warning, with a bouquet of flowers and the face of someone who didn't quite know what to say. Can I come in? He asked timidly. Of course, Dad. Ethan was in the kitchen and greeted my father politely before stepping away, giving us space to talk. I like him, my father said, straight to the point. Seems like a good man. He is. I came here because your mother said you two talked, and I realized I never apologized to you. My father was never one for many words, so this surprised me. I always knew Mia was problematic, he continued, but I thought it wasn't my problem, that it was women's business, that your mother would solve it. But in the end, you both suffered, and you especially. Dad, no. Daughter, let me finish. He sat on the edge of the sofa. I failed as a father. I failed to protect you. I failed to educate her. And I failed to teach you both that sisters should support each other, not destroy each other. I felt a lump in my throat. Your mother told me about Ryan, about what she did to you. He shook his head. If it were me, I would never forgive, but you? You found a way to transform all that pain into something good. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of you. They were the words I had waited my whole life to hear. Thank you, Dad. Do you think there's still time for me to be a better father? I smiled, even with my eyes welling up. There's always time. That night I told Ethan everything. He listened in silence, just holding my hand. How do you feel? He asked when I finished. Free, I replied, surprised by my own response. For the first time? Truly free. And about Mia? I thought for a moment. I hope she finds her peace away from me, but I hope she finds it. He smiled and kissed my forehead. You're incredible.
You know that.
We're incredible, I corrected. Us. And it was true because in the end, it wasn't just about outmaneuvering Mia or getting revenge on her. It was about learning that I deserved to be loved properly, defended, respected. It was about discovering that family isn't just who's born with you, but who chooses to stay by your side. It was about realizing that sometimes, to find the love of your life, you first need to stop accepting crumbs from those who never valued you. And today, when I wake up next to Ethan, with the dog sleeping at our feet, I know all the battles were worth it because they brought me here. To him, to us, to peace.